Hi friends, welcome back to Codelligent. In the previous video, we have seen all the basic aspects of creating a function in Python. In this video, in continuation to that, we will see how we can create functions which can take arbitrary arguments as well as arbitrary keyword arguments. So let's get started. So here we are in our IDE Visual Studio Code. And in the last video, we have seen how we can create a simple function. For example, a sum function which takes two arguments, a and b. And inside that, we are creating a new variable s, which is equal to a plus b, that is addition of a and b. And we are returning that addition result. And from where we are calling, we are taking a variable result and calling the method sum, passing 2 and 3. And the output will be given in result, and we are just printing that. So if we execute this, we get sum is 5. So it's a simple function. What if we want to have addition of 3 numbers? Then we can add one more parameter here, and we can add here. And while calling, we will just pass one more. And now when we call this, we get sum is 9. But what if we want n number of values? That is, like, we don't know how many numbers will be passed by the user. It can be 2, it can be 3, or it can be 6, any number. So how we can create that? So that is also possible in Python. For that, we have the concept of arbitrary arguments. So how that arbitrary arguments is defined is using one asterisk. So that is, instead of creating variables like this, here we will say star, that is asterisk, nums, maybe whatever variable name you want to give. So now this star represents it as a arbitrary argument. So if you hover over this, now nums is not a single data type, it's a tuple type. So that means it is a collection. So it is expecting a collection. So the moment you add a star, it becomes a collection. Now inside we have to change the logic, because now we don't have individual variables, we have a collection. So maybe I'll change the logic to so that s is equal to 0 first. And since it is a collection, we will have to loop through it. So I'll say for x in nums, and s is equal to s plus x, or it can be simplified by writing s plus equal to x. And finally, we will be returning s. Now, when you call this sum method, you can pass any number. So you can pass 3 parameters, 3 arguments, you can pass 7 arguments, you can pass 10 arguments, it's up to the user. So whenever you pass any number of arguments here, it will get stored into this tuple and the function happens. So now let's try to execute this. You can see the result is still 9 because it is adding into it and it's computing here and resulting it. Now I can pass any number of arguments here. So like this. So I am passing n number of arguments, and when I execute this, it gives me the sum. So this is nothing but, we call it as arbitrary arguments. So this concept of using star is known as arbitrary arguments. And it is not mandatory that you have to use this individually and you cannot have any other variables. I can change this slightly. For example, I can have a, comma, b, and then an arbitrary argument. So in this case, I am expecting that at least 2 numbers should be sent, and after that it's any number. Like initially when we didn't have these two, at that time it was the user could have called even with 1 item, even with 0 items, they will accept it. But if you want to restrict the user that at least 2 numbers should be provided so that I can perform an addition, and after that it is up to the user if he wants to pass more than 2 as well. In that case, you can do like this, where you can create a, comma, b, that is 2 different variables or parameters, and then an arbitrary argument. So in this case, we will first usually do a plus b here, which are short numbers here. And after doing that, we will loop into this tuple and we will add that further to this s. So now in this case, I can call only with these 2. So I can execute this. It gives sum as 5 because in this case this particular tuple will be empty and it will not loop into this. And I can pass one more argument. So in this case this will be assigned to A, this will be assigned to B, and this will be going into the tuple and we will loop into that. Or I can pass any number whichever I want. So let me put here one more. So these are a lot of numbers here, and when you execute this you will get the output. So this is how you use arbitrary arguments. Now we will see a new concept when we are dealing with functions, that is keyword arguments. So this same kind of method we can refer it in a different way. So let me give a fresh example for that. So maybe I'm creating a new method called greetings, which expects a first name, last name, time of the day. So now here I will do is, if time of day is equal to morning, I will print good morning, first name, last name. So this will be my greetings. And if time of day is equal to afternoon, I'll just copy this print statement, and instead of good morning I'll say good afternoon. And finally an else block, I'll again copy that and I'll say good day. So if it is morning, it should greet good morning. If it is afternoon, it should greet good afternoon. In any other case, it should say good day, and using both first name and last name. Now usually when we call this method or this function, you will say greetings, maybe John, Jacob, and then an argument maybe like morning. So when I call this, let's execute how it works. So this is how it works. But you can pass these arguments in any order as well, not in this specific order. And that can be done by using keyword arguments. What I mean by that, whatever names you have given here for the parameters, the same name you can use here and pass that. So for example, I'll just remove this. I can say time of day first, and I can say afternoon. Then I can pass L name, maybe Smith, and then I can pass F name as maybe Alex. So now you can see it is not in the same order how it is defined, but since we are giving it with the name of the parameter, so this is nothing but your keyword arguments, so it will try to match with that. So now whatever value you give here, it will map with this name to here, and this value will be assigned to this. And similarly for L name and for F name. And when you execute it, it works all fine. But this is more useful when you have default values. So for example, I can give here blank, and maybe here also blank, and here also I'll give blank. So this is my default. Now in this case, when I execute, it works similar way, like it will give the output. Maybe I don't want to pass the L name, I want to pass only the first name. So in this case I can pass like this, F name and time of the day, and it will take care of assigning into respective variables. And when I execute, it says good afternoon Alex, because now L name has been removed. So now in this case, since I am passing F name, L name and time of day, and all the three has default values, but I want to pass only to this variable and this variable, which is not usually possible because you will have to pass everything. But using the keyword arguments, you can select that. So now all the three are optional, and you can use the keyword arguments to send values for any specific parameter. So that is possible using keyword arguments. Now, similar to arbitrary arguments, we can pass any number of keyword arguments as well. So let's see how that can be done. So for that, I want to create one new method called maybe show experience. So this method takes and shows the work experience of a person. So now experience for a person can vary, like he can have an experience with 3 companies, he can have with 5 companies, so that is not fixed. So having an argument specific to that will be difficult. So in that time, when you are creating such kind of method, you can have arbitrary keyword arguments. So now in this case, I want to give company name and the years of experience together. So in that case, you can go for keyword arguments. So how it works? Instead of 1 star, which we were using for arbitrary arguments, we should use 2 stars, and we can give any name, maybe EXPS, maybe to just refer that it is experience. And now when you hover over this, you can see this is a type dictionary. It is the star one which we used for arbitrary arguments was a tuple, and when you use 2 stars, now this becomes a dictionary wherein you are passing a keyword arguments. So now in this, when you are getting an keyword arguments, now I can say inside print the experience list is, and I can do a for loop, and I can have a key and value pair both in exps dot items. Now since it is a dictionary, I can loop key value pair together, and here I want to print a formatted string saying maybe the key and the value. So now it will make sense when we call this. You will get to understand how we are defining this. So when we are calling this method, now when I say show experience, we have to pass key value pairs. So that is like, for example, I'll say Google is equal to maybe 3 years, Microsoft is equal to 2 years, maybe Siemens is equal to 6 years. Now this we are passing as if we are passing a keyword arguments, wherein we are referring to the parameter name here. But this doesn't exist, and you can notice it is not given in a string. It is just given as if we are using a variable name. But this is smart enough to map this with the dictionary here, and this acts as a key and this acts as a value. So Google will become the key, 3 will become the value, then Microsoft will become the key and 2 will become the value, and similarly Siemens will become the key and this will become the value, and that will be stored in this particular dictionary, and then we are iterating through that. So let's see what happens when we execute it. So now you can see the experience list is Google equal to 3, Microsoft is equal to 2, Siemens is equal to 6. So don't get confused here. In usually when we are creating a dictionary, that is like if we are supposed to create this as a dictionary, we should have created like this, and so on, so whatever it is. But here we are giving it as a string, but since here we are defining this for a keyword argument and which is arbitrary, so we will not give this as a string, we will give this as a variable name, so which will internally treated as a key for the dictionary. So this is how you create a arbitrary keyword arguments. And again the same rule applies. It's not mandatory that you have to give only this. So I can say f name, l name, and then experience. So I can use it here, the experience of maybe let me use a formatted string, and I can put it here as f name space l name is, and when I'm calling, first I have to pass f name is equal to, it's not first, maybe I can pass it towards the end also. So for example, f name, I'll say John, and maybe towards the end So now let's see what happens. So now it says the experience of John Alex is so and so. So even though we are giving it all random, it maps it properly. So since now we have f name here and here, it maps these two argument and parameter. We pass L name here and this gets mapped with here, and whatever the other keyword arguments are there which we don't have a mapping here will all go into this particular arbitrary argument. So Python is smart enough to map that properly. So I hope this video was useful and you were able to understand how to create functions with arbitrary arguments and arbitrary keyword arguments. In all these videos, I am giving the GitHub link for the sample code file in the description, so you can access that and you can see the examples which I am using so that you get a proper understanding. Those are all .py files which you can directly take and execute it and see. If you like these videos and if you are liking the content which is being shown, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you get notified for all the further videos. Thank you.